As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav bros.
Let's get to camp day itself. Meredith can't light a fire, which I don't think I've ever seen that. Light the fire. She tries to light a log with a lighter.
That'll work.
No, it won't. No, it absolutely won't. You can't. She takes a Bic lighter and she's like putting against wood. Like,
well, I've got this.
What the fuck? What's going on? But Mary arrives. Once again, I think Meredith's got to feel bad for being like, oh, I guess an hour late is the norm these days. It's like, I know I'm not going to hammer home on this one because I know Meredith doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that would be mean to say like, oh, she's going through this. You're going to say that?
At the time, it's like, oh, yeah, if you don't know what's going on and you're
It's
completely
a fair
oblivious
thing
to
to
it,
say.
it's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, given what we know.
Yep.
Not the best look.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just bad timing. But this whole scene was chaotic and amazing. I loved every second of it. It was so hard to keep track of. I had to pause, rewind. Lisa Barlow's talking about Britani on Instagram with Jared Osmond, and then she's got a picture with Donnie Osmond. And we get a really funny dig. She's not dating Donnie. She's just trying to get as close to him as she can. She's like, oh my God. And it's like, it's a joke. Relax. It's like, it's not a joke at all.
It is not a joke. It is true.
Especially that picture did her no favors with Donnie Osmond. I'm like, oh shit, that is exactly what he's named Osmond. You want to be Utah royalty. So you're chasing the Osmond name. It could be Jared. It could be somebody else. I think Jared's the single one. So she's like, bam, there's my in.
Let me get in there.
Yeah.
Have you seen the TikToks about Britani?
Oh God,
the girl who's been spilling the tea that that's her ex-mother-in-law or stepmother.
Britani's her ex-stepmother.
Mm-hmm.
What's the tea?
Well, I'll have to do a full compilation. I'll have a report next week.
Okay.
That'll be my job.
Is it damning?
I mean, it just shows you what kind of person Britani is. It seems like there's some gold digging going on in there, according to this girl.
No shit.
Yeah,
What?
duh. But like, it's more about like what she did and like fracturing the family and the relationship between the dad and the kids and stuff. So,
Well, we do know that she was not cool with her kids.
yeah,
We know that
These aren't even
to
her
be
kids,
true.
so.
Oh God.
Uh-huh.
So she fucked up lots of kids.
yeah.
Okay.
What a
Do
sentence.
yeah, that's not a great sentence, but hey, do your digging and let us know next week.
Yep.
We're all waiting with bated breath.
Seems like more parts keep coming out. So
Interesting. All right. Well, I look forward to your recap. I'm not going to watch that, but I look forward to you watching it and letting me know.
yeah,
But I can't believe she's still holding on to hope for this relationship. She's like, Jared says he loves me and this is going somewhere this time. It's like, which time is this? 19, 20, 21?
we have to be on 20 based on
The
the
guy's
track
he's
record.
DMing Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Run. What the fuck? But she doesn't care. She wants that Osmond money.
Yeah.
She wants to live on Osmond Lane.
Look, I mean, he's DMing Mary because she's a beautiful child of God.
She is a beautiful child of God, and he loves that about her.
Feel the spiritual energy.
He defended himself for those DMs. He was like,
he did.
yeah, it's religion. You're such a loser using religion to get ass. Like, Jesus Christ, be better. But no pun intended.
What's the pun?
Jesus Christ, be better. I guess that implies like, hey, Jesus, you need to be better. Which,
Oh.
you know, I guess he is the best.
He is the best.
Let's just keep going. We don't need to talk about that. Let's just keep going. We get a soaking definition, which I'm so excited about. Because again, we've been talking about soaking since we started watching Salt Lake City.
Yep.
It's one of the funniest references in the world, I think. One, the fact that people actually do it, which I knew, but confirmation from somebody that actually went to BYU is even better.
Uh-huh.
Two, the fact that they defend this as not sexual intercourse. Probably going to get a little too graphic here.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it. If there's penetration, it's sex. Okay?
Yeah.
Like that's
You're not saying anything that Heather said or didn't say.
You're correct. If you penetrate, that's sex. Just because you're not thrusting, pumping. What was the other one? I wrote them down because we got orgasming. Those are the three. The big three, as they call it.
Yep.
If you're not doing the big three, it's not sex. No. That's not a thing. But a hot dog bun's a thing.
Yeah. I'm happy that we got that little graphic description.
What is I don't need to talk about it on here, but that's a whole different thing.
Well, you put a hot dog on a bun. It's not exactly thrusting through the bun. It's just laying there.
But that's not soaking.
That is soaking, I thought.
No, that's my point. So
Oh.
then my brain's going, oh, it's a hot dog.
The outside?
That's That's where my head went.
Okay, I think that's what she was doing.
That's
yeah.
where my head went.
I thought she was using that as an explanation for
I did
soaking.
too, but then we go later and she references them both as different things.
Mm.
She's like, I did soak and I did do the hot dog bun. I was like, oh, it's different. So we need somebody from BYU to come on the podcast, give us your experience so we can all learn. No?
And then we can ask them $5 million right now or 5 minutes with Joseph Smith. And I'll say 5 minutes
Ooh,
with Joseph Smith.
that's a fun question.
You seen that before?
I haven't.
Oh, it's great.
That's a real thing.
Oh, it's a real
Oh,
thing.
I can't. Let's keep going. We start discussing everyone's like backstory with camping, and I guess Mormon camping was a big thing. They would send them on like a retreat, and one of those nights you'd get sent out into the wilderness with a bag, and it's this big spiritual awakening or something. And Angie takes it upon herself to press Britani a little bit. Rightfully so, I think, after this whole wine thing, because it was strange. She's like, so you're still a practicing Mormon? She's like, I am. It's like, okay. Then why shame me for bringing the wine to you, especially considering you acted awkward when I brought it into the house, but then you texted me like a heartfelt thank you. And I don't think Britani's ever good at defending herself.
No.
Because she's like, well, it was just a bad look. It's like, it's a bad look if you're claiming to not drink because you're Mormon and then people watch this show and not only are you talking about drinking. Look, I don't care. You live your life, okay? It's not for me to say. But if you're claiming to be a devout Mormon and then you're drinking on TV and then you're talking about dating 10 dudes at a time, 3 of them seriously, that sounds like a bad Mormon.
Yeah, you would think so, but this is why Britani's so great. Because she's terrible at defending herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got like a slight Lisa Barlow syndrome where she believes whatever she's saying is true. That's fine. It's funny because she's terrible at defending herself. At least Lisa's good at it. Britani's over there trying to explain it away. Sometimes there's like little nuggets of truth in there. And then other times it's just complete chaos and the stupidest thing that you ever hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
Yeah, no, it's
she
good.
can put it together in a way that only Britani can, and I'm starting to really appreciate it.
I do too. I appreciate what Britani
Kind
brings.
of like
to
steals
the
the show sometimes.
I know, but not in ways that we've seen before. It's
No.
more where you're just kind of like scratching your head, like, "Huh, that's new."
Where'd you come from?
Yeah, interesting. That's bizarre. Never seen that move. But Mary calls it out, and I think that she just wanted to set this up for Meredith. I don't think this had anything to do with with Britani. She's like, it's just two-faced. It's all two-faced, and then she calls out Meredith immediately. She's like you leaving my house, that was very rude. Britani tries to chime in, and she just shuts her down. I'm not talking to you, shut up. She's like, oh, you would have thought she just kicked her puppy or something. It's like, have you not watched Mary on TV? This is light. That's nothing.
Yeah.
She just told you to shut up, and she means
She's also been meaner to you this season.
right? Yeah, she has multiple
nothing.
times. No, and by the way, when Mary says shut up, she means it. Like, shut up, you're not involved. But this is where you get the communication breakdown. Meredith's like, you told me to leave. She's like, I didn't tell you to leave. I said you guys need to shut up or you can leave. And you actually left, which is the first time that's ever happened. It's honestly one of the few times, I don't know if I can point to another time, at least on this show, where someone's made a generalized statement of, you can get the hell out. And someone's like, oh, how dare you? And actually leaves the party.
I'm sure it's definitely happened before.
Probably, but not on this show. Definitely not on this show.
Not that I can recall right now.
But Mary's like, don't you find that rude? And she's like, no. And I guess if you're holding on to the fact that she told you to leave, you can't give in and say that is rude. This whole thing is just nonsense, though, because Meredith's holding on to it. Mary's holding on to it. I am on Mary's side.
Yeah, no, and not just because of what we see later.
No.
Mary's just trying to get the both of you to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You're both screaming at a little lunch party.
It's unbecoming.
Her saying you can get out if you're not going to stop isn't the end of the world.
You said earlier you're on Meredith's team.
I didn't say I was on Meredith's team. I said that she
has
needs to
ground
go
to
about it
stand on.
differently.
You said she has ground to stand on. I
said
see no
if she
ground.
goes that way and she says you're picking Angie over me,
Okay.
that makes sense to me.
I feel like you're changing your story.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't
Roll the
appreciate it. We can. We will.
I think you were just bewildered by the fact that I was actually explaining maybe Meredith.
Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah.
I was befuddled.
Uh-huh.
But Mary gives
left unturned.
Yeah, whatever, dude. But Mary gives an ultimatum and says, look, if you can't accept that you're in the wrong and move on, then we're just done. Whitney decides to chime in. Taking notes on this was impossible, by the way, because now Whitney chimes in and she's like, well, Meredith holds a grudge. She's playing Lisa Barlow's game. So now it's like, boom, boom. We go over to Lisa Barlow, and Lisa's like, don't lie. Don't. That's her new thing with Whitney. She just screams, don't lie. And she calls out Whitney for talking shit. And she goes, Bronwyn, tell her what they said. And she's like, well, I was surprised that you guys are doing an event together because Whitney said that Heather won't have her back because she wants to be friends with Lisa. 1,000% happened. 1,000% true. 1,000% should piss off Heather.
Yes.
Coming from Bronwyn will not piss off Heather because then Heather has to accept that Bronwyn did her a solid by saying this. So she goes, oh yeah, she always feels that way. I'm like, that's a problem if you guys are cousins and quote unquote friends. She's like, she always has those feelings. That's not a good thing. And this doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like you're like, I can't side with Bronwyn. Got to side with Whitney on this one. It wasn't a moment for me where it's like, I'm going to have my cousins back. It was like, Bronwyn got one over on me, and I don't want to bend the knee to Bronwyn.
That's exactly what it is. And I was even more surprised that Whitney going to her confessional was turning on Bronwyn.
Yeah.
That was very surprising to me because I feel like
too.
if you're Whitney, and we saw this when they were down at Palm Springs, she wants to be friends with Bronwyn because Bronwyn's rich.
Yes.
She doesn't get to do things like this, but if I'm friends with Bronwyn, maybe I can. Her turning on Bronwyn was very surprising. I thought we were going to see the same type of reaction from Whitney in the confessional and then there at the campground saying, oh, yeah, like I just kind of said that in passing. I didn't really mean anything by it. And then immediately let Bronwyn off the hook.
Yeah.
She didn't do that. She's holding her to the fire a little bit, at least in the confessional. I don't think anything's going to come of that. Not that it really matters. Whitney's a non-factor across the board, pretty much with all of these women. But yeah, we can see plain as day if this was anyone else that brought this information, Heather would turn on Whitney immediately.
Yeah, definitely.
And we would have complete chaos and everybody's mad at each other. Instead, it comes from Bronwyn. I can't let her get a leg up on me. She's got information. I'm not going to let this get to me. Maybe behind closed doors, I'm going to have words with Whitney, and then it's going to turn into something else. But we're not going to let her get credit for this.
No, not right now.
No.
You can't blow up in public like that.
No.
But then Angie jumps in and tries to throw shade at Bronwyn and says, well, Bronwyn said about Lisa, like, can you really trust Lisa Barlow as a friend? Bronwyn denies it, and I will, again, Bronwyn's careful with how she talks. We roll the tape. What actually happened was Angie, Kay, and Whitney were talking some shit about Lisa. Bronwyn said, that's interesting. I haven't seen that. So she protects herself there. Is she talking shit about Lisa when they're away in Palm Springs? Yeah, probably, but rightfully so. But we've seen this move. We've seen her move the whole season. She says things intentionally, and she says them in a way where even if it's shady, she has a drawback where she can roll it back. We saw that with Whitney and the trite versus iconic line, where she was talking shit about Whitney, and she goes, whoa, I did tell you guys that, and I told Whitney that. It's like, you did, but it was different. But you're smart enough.
You guys don't know the exact words.
No. And Whitney doesn't know what that means.
Correct.
So she just
She knows what iconic means.
Yeah, trite, she thinks is probably an adjective for iconic. Or
I thought she thinks she would think it was a fish.
I would
Trout.
like a trout, trite.
Yeah.
I think tripe.
I always think tripe too.
Yeah, which is yucky. But
is it? I heard it's delicious.
Tripe?
I heard it's very salty.
It is salty. Tripe is it's stomach stuffed with stuff. I don't.
Yeah.
I would eat it. I will eat anything.
Yeah.
And if it was done well, it's probably good. But I don't know. I feel like if you fuck it up, it's probably horrible, and that freaks me out. But Bronwyn denies it and potentially puts her foot in her mouth for the first time. She says that Angie said that Lisa fucked her over, and she's like, whoa. I didn't say all that. I talked some shit, but I never said that Lisa fucked me over. You need to put on Meredith's hearing aids and turn them up. Meredith enters the chat. That's kind of offensive. I audibly laughed that she gets involved. She's like, that's kind of offensive. I guess we're just making fun of impairments now. I'm like, look, kind of fair. Yes, you don't hear as well as the other people. No, I don't want to make fun of that. The drop-in was really funny.
The drop-in was incredible, and this is just the way that the argument's going.
It's everywhere.
It's 2 people, and then it's 3 people, and then the first person gets excused somehow, and then we're going to bring everybody into it, and it just keeps going back and forth.
I think
it's
Meredith
impossible.
felt left out, and she's like, here's my in.
Yeah, exactly. But Meredith didn't want to get involved. She was happily on the other end.
Well, she couldn't hear them.
She couldn't hear them. Her part was completely over. She was done with Mary. Maybe we can move on, and other people are just going to air their grievances at this point. Nope. We're going to bring you right back in. Talk about the hearing aids. Now you're back in.
Yep. Mary jumps back in after Lisa says, don't lie. And she's like, well, that's true, though, because that's the thing. The things that Whitney are saying about Lisa, things that Angie potentially said about Lisa, they are true.
Yep.
Lisa does lie. Lisa does talk shit. Lisa is two-faced. Lisa will say one thing to one person and then FaceTime Heather from the hot tub while she's at Bronwyn's house. Like, this is who she is. It's who she's always been. And she's let everybody know, if you're not on board with this, I won't be your friend. This is who I am. It's Lisa Barlow. I'm myself. We say it all the time.
Yep.
just because you're being true to yourself doesn't mean you're allowed to be an asshole. But Lisa is and always has been Lisa. Mary calls her the fakest person she's ever seen. Brings up that she has a shopper in Milan. She's like, who's the shopper? Give me your name. She's like, well, you wore the Tiffany outfit. And blah, blah, blah. It was impossible to track because now everyone's just mad at everybody. Everybody's mad at everybody. Mary's overwhelmed. She's not wrong. Lisa is full of shit, but she's not wrong. There's more pertinent things going on right now. People actually have beefs with one another, right? I'm pointing if you're not watching.
Yep, pointing around.
Meredith jumps in again. Keeps trying to bring up the hearing aids. She's like, it's highly offensive to make fun of a disability. So it's gone from that's kind of offensive to make fun of impairments. Now it's highly offensive for making fun of disabilities. She needs in on this argument. She's been slighted. No one, not one person there. And the initial thing they did, they're like, oh, that's mean. No one's giving her anything. And I think that that's driving her nuts. But the whole thing is a smashing success in my eyes. Camp Day could not have gone better. It was one of the more chaotic fight scenes we've seen in a while. I'm not sure who's fighting with who. I'm not sure whose allegiances are with who. I just base it off of the Shabbat scene that we get next because I'm like, okay, these guys are all cool, but you also have Heather there with Bronwyn, which is kind of awkward. Of course, Seth is tight with Jared. That's the least shocking thing ever that those two get along. They're the same exact fucking person as far as personality goes, probably. Like watching paint dry.
But pretty much any time that two housewives who organize an event sit there and say, I can't believe that just happened. I wanted to bring everybody together, and it seems like we couldn't be further apart. That means it was a smashing success.
You did your job.
For the TV show.
Yeah, you did your job.
It was incredible for the show. When everybody is in that much dismay, beautifully done. Way to go.
I think it's more shocking to hear them say that line. We hear that line all the time after events. I can't believe this happened. That wasn't my goal. Have you ever watched an event?
Yeah.
On any housewife show?
Sometimes they start off the season with that, and then we have to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, we got to wait.
And it's not great.
Episodes. Yeah. So this was no shock, but you guys did your job. You did it very well. But we get to the party, or the Shabbat, excuse me, and it's an interesting crew there. I'm like I said, I imagine this group is probably...
Very surprised by the guest list.
It was strange. Yeah. It was a strange guest list, but it's Meredith, so it's not that shocking. Not a whole lot happens here. We do find out what jump humping is. That's a new thing as well. That's, you add it to the soaking. There's a third party there, which you could argue now it's a threesome, which is even, I don't know if you'd say that's worse than sex in the Book of Mormon.
Correct. I would say so, yeah.
Based on what?
Shake that bed? I don't know.
But we find out about some lineage. I guess Jared O is half Jewish, and JB Husband Boss, he's also half Jewish because he did 23andMe, and then Lisa turned into a detective. Turned into a detective.
Yeah.
Woof.
She hired a genealogist.
She hired a genealogist to track his lineage. I guess, is JB Husband Boss adopted?
I do not know that, but apparently he doesn't know his parents.
Doesn't know his parents, doesn't know his lineage. I don't want to speculate on his upbringing.
Do you think that Lisa's genealogist is the same as her IT security guy?
I think it's Bo Deedle.
Yeah, it's Bo Deedle.
Bo Deedle, genealogist / private detective.
Yes.
That's what I would imagine. But Todd speaks up. Todd walks in like a fucking bank teller. I hate Todd. I really hate Todd, especially after this scene. More and more each week, I hate him even more. But Todd speaks up on ancestry is really interesting. Super interesting. I had the NSA do a background check on Bronwyn when we started dating.
Not the same thing.
What the fuck? That's not even close to the same thing. They're talking about 23andMe. She's spitting a tube and sending it in.
My take on this is he's trying to do something for the show, maybe? Like, why are you telling these people this?
This is psychotic.
It is insane. Like, if you're going to do it, you keep that shit to yourself.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, who the fuck knows?
Like a Google background? Like, if you
for sure.
Type in a name.
And look, you don't have a prenup.
Okay, fine. High-powered businessman, if you want to run a background check, I think that's fucking psychotic behavior.
Yeah.
But definitely don't tell people.
The only thing that I can think of, the reason that he would even say that to this group of people is maybe him and Bronwyn had a discussion about the TV show and what's going on and what we have to do. And he goes, I could say some stuff. I can say some things that'll get people going.
Maybe it's more
It was the opposite of getting people going. It was immediately just the confessionals where they're talking about it weeks later. Like, that was fucking insane. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he did it. Why is he telling us this? Nobody's talking about it at the dinner table.
It's silent.
It was dead silence, which is impossible to do with this group of people.
How do you respond to that? What do you say to that? Whatever, you lunatic.
We're all sharing.
Here's what I think it was. I think it was a threat.
Yeah, maybe it was.
You want to talk about me? I do background checks. I got somebody in the NSA that'll get all the dirt from all of you. So you want to talk that shit? Todd's got Bo Deedle on retainer, and he works at the NSA now too.
Yeah. God, imagine that guy with security clearance.
No, no thanks. We do a quick run through of camp day, and again, it's kind of hard to know where people stand, but Angie got feisty for, they do a quick recap of camp day, and Heather says a lot of it was just venting and people are talking shit, and that's normal. So why would you throw them under the bus, alluding to Bronwyn? And she's like, look, people go tit for tat. Like, that's what they do. That's what we do. She calls out the hypocrisy again, and she says, I can be a snarky C word.
Mm-hmm. We're not in Australia.
No, we're not in Australia. Look, it is a little bit of a harsh
Shabbat
word.
dinner, yeah.
I don't need Todd saying don't say that.
I didn't really. He's done enough where it's like, all right, yeah, stop talking.
That's
stop
why.
doing this. If this was a one-off, if any other husband on the show had said that, I'd be like, yeah, I kind of get that.
I kind of get it.
Shabbat dinner.
Yeah, but
Don't
no,
talk
because
like
it's
that.
Todd, I'm like,
Yeah.
just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Because it just adds to everything else.
Mhm.
If he hadn't just said, I did an NSA background check on my wife,
Yeah.
maybe I'd let it roll.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I just simply can't do it. Maybe it's because I just hate the guy so much. But it ends with Meredith going on her soapbox again about being a victim. She's like, look, Mary crossed the line here, and I just don't know if we're ever going to be friends again. Like, I stood behind her for so many things, and she's so taken aback by this whole thing. Again, roll the fucking tape. You didn't get kicked out of the goddamn house. You said, shut up or leave. You decided to leave. This whole episode, I'm pulling my hair out when Meredith's talking.
Yeah.
But thank God that Brittany's there. Because she's like, well, maybe something serious is going on, guys. Maybe, just maybe, Meredith. If you keep saying that, ask Mary. Don't ask her in the beginning of your conversation at the Relevant Gallery and say, it's a change of character. Is everything good? And then immediately go into why you're upset with her. Let her answer. What's going on, Mary? You say you're her close friend because she is going through some serious shit. And when I tell you this next scene made me weep, like sob,
Yeah.
this was one of the toughest scenes I've ever watched. I thought it was one of the most...
Reality TV or scripted TV.
Anything.
It was still that bad.
It was so raw. It was so real. I want to commend Mary and Robert Jr. for allowing this to be on TV because of who it's going to help, how many people it's going to help. I saw multiple reactions to this before I actually watched it, and the resounding sentiment is just support for them, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah.
I saw some stupid comments, and it took everything in me not to comment back, but Mary starts talking about Robert Jr. and his background. You know, he was this perfect child. He got straight A's. He was determined. He was smart. He was that kid that anything he set his mind to, he seemed to achieve it. So that paints the picture of who she sees him as. And as we talked about earlier, the behavioral changes that she's noticed, we've all seen it throughout the season. It's those uncomfortable scenes where he appears to not be there. Like she's talking to him, but his eyes are glassy. His girlfriend or wife or whoever that is, she's not with it either. And she's like, look, what are we doing? Like, let's be real. And I was stunned and impressed by how open Robert Jr. was throughout this whole thing. I was proud of Robert Jr. for being that open about this whole thing because he's like, I took a Xanax. And then I took a half of an Adderall to balance out the half of the Xanax that I took. And she's like, well, do you see the problem with this? Like, you're self-medicating, which is obviously a big issue. And they start getting into everything because she asks him, which is probably one of the tougher questions to answer when you're going through something like this. And it's like, are you unhappy? And he's like, I don't know. And the way that he describes addiction, I thought was so fascinating and so on the money. He's like, life is like chicken unseasoned. And when I do drugs, when I get high, it's like it adds seasoning to it. And I guess he started when he was 16 years old, and somebody gave him a Xanax at a party. He really enjoyed the Xanax at the party, so he started mixing other drugs with the Xanax and took a liking to that. That became his drug of choice. And he found that he had an issue when he was taking 10 Oxycontins at once, which, if you don't know a lot about Oxy or drugs in general, is enough to kill somebody. And not only was he still alive, he didn't even feel it. And he's like, well, that's when I realized that it was kind of a turning point for me. And she starts sobbing, and this is when I started sobbing. And I'm just going to go through the whole scene before I comment on a couple things I want to talk about. But I'm so impressed with Mary and how she handled this, because obviously she's a wild card, right? Like we never really know what we're going to get from Mary. It could be off the wall, but she seemed so grounded during this scene. It was so impressive because she's like, I'm not going to judge you. I won't judge you. And I can try to help you, but you have to help yourself, which is one of the most important things that she said to Robert Jr. during this whole thing. She says, do you accept that this is a problem? He's silent. Goes to a confessional. She says that she's disappointed in herself. She let him down. She was watching him smoke weed and do edibles, but she trusted him. And clearly I was wrong and missed the mark, and it's not your fault. Or sorry, I clearly missed the mark. And she just flat out says to him, like, you will die. And before I get into that last part, I want to talk about, because those of you that have listened for a while, if you're new here, I'm 6 years sober. I went through my own journey with alcohol where I nearly died. And this is not about me, nor am I making it about me. I want to talk about it from a place of just understanding where Robert is, and seeing what Mary went through with this whole thing. And the first thing I want to talk about is, it broke my heart listening to Mary say that she was disappointed in herself, that she had let him down, that she noticed the weed and the edibles thing. And I wish I could say to Mary, and I want to say to any parents out there, people that have family members going through this, people close to you going through this, hindsight sucks, because you look back and you see things that you should have noticed. You see things and moments where you could have stepped in and helped or said something or raised the alarm. But what people need to understand, especially with the people closest to those afflicted, is they don't want to believe that there's something wrong. And that's not necessarily your fault. And people shouldn't put emphasis on, I wish I'd done something. I wish I'd helped. I let him down. Because in the thick of it, even my family members that were closest to me, I was a mess. I had yellow eyes. I had 20 pounds of fluid in my body. I still convinced those closest to me that I did not have a problem, because nobody wants to believe that the people that they love are afflicted by this for so many reasons. The first one being the stigma that comes with it. We have this air about addiction and alcoholism that if you are afflicted by it, you're a bad person. I equate it always to the homeless person under the bridge with a brown bag. People always want to shit on that guy, but you don't know how that person got there. You have no idea what their backstory is. So people that have to watch somebody go through this, yes, when you get to the other side, or yes, when you get to the moment where they're finally admitting that they have a problem, you are inevitably going to look back and look at moments where you, quote unquote, failed. But it's so important to understand that you're doing your best to avoid it because you don't want to address it, because this is somebody you love. That's not something you should place blame on because you're now seeing it clearly. And yeah, you're going to look back and be like, Jesus Christ, obviously he was fucked up there. He's been fucked up for months. Hindsight will destroy you. You have to think about moving forward with everything. And the other part I want to talk about is, for anybody that doesn't believe this is a sickness or an illness or something that none of us that went through it would choose, he was given a Xanax at a party. So many people are given opiates as a painkiller post-surgery, post-injury, and you get addicted. And the science behind addiction that a lot of people don't understand is that those of us that are afflicted by it, that is wired into our brains. That is who I am. It's who I've always been. It's been in here, and something triggered it. And once that trigger happens, whatever it is, you're fucked. And you go down this hole. And the hardest part of this entire thing is what Mary pointed out earlier. You have to help yourself. Until the person afflicted by it is able to say, I have a problem and I need to fix it, there's not a whole lot anybody else out there can do. You can grab somebody and shake them and say, you need to get better, you need to get help. But if they're not ready to accept that help, it doesn't matter. And that's the hardest part of this whole thing. And that's why I felt for Mary so much, because she feels all of this guilt, this pressure that I wish I'd done something. It's like, even in the throes of it, even if you send him to rehab, there's a 93% chance that he's going to relapse. That's the first thing they told me when I got to rehab. 7% of you are going to be successful. Good luck. That's how real this whole thing is. And the last thing I want to talk about that I want to get your thoughts, and sorry I've been hogging the mic a little bit, but again, this is how real this shit is. And this is something that I have felt And Robert Jr. just, it was so amazing to hear him say this, and the strength that it takes to say this on a public platform, and the strength that it takes to say this knowing that people are going to watch it, and the amount of people that he's going to help with this, because this hit me right in the heart, where she says to him, "You will die." His response is, "I wanted to die at the time because I felt like a stain, like this world wasn't for me." And I can't think of a better way to explain what it feels like when you get to the point in addiction or alcoholism where you finally realize how fucked you are. And I call it getting the fuckets, but this is perfect because this is how I felt. And this is how anybody in the thick of it feels. So if you want to point the finger at people, and if you want to look down on people that go through this, just understand that when it's at our worst, when it's at its worst, this is how I felt. Like I was a stain, like I was a burden, like I didn't belong here. Like I would be much better off going to sleep and not waking up in the morning because I'd let everybody in my life down, that everybody looked down on me now, that I was just a big piece of shit. That's how all addicts and alcoholics feel. None of us are out here about to die from our drug of choice and thinking that we're doing well. This is how we feel. We are tethered to this world by one thing sometimes. For me, it was my daughter. For Robert Jr., it was his mom. And that's what it takes to keep you from dying, because a lot of us get to the point where we don't give a fuck and you overdose, you drink yourself to death, or you kill yourself. That's how real this shit is. And for Robert Jr. to get on here and say it, for Mary to get on here and talk about it, I just wish more people would watch this and fully understand how hard this shit is. And we've watched 4 shows this year. All have had people going through something like this, or with a family member going through something like this. And I really hope and pray that Robert Jr. and Mary, being this vulnerable and open about their journey with this whole thing, and Robert Jr. is doing really well now, which is incredible, can reach people out there and help to erase this fucking stigma that comes along with this stuff, because this is what it is. It's not shitty people doing shitty, gross things, doing drugs and drinking. It's a fucking illness. It kills people. And the people that go through it, this is what it is. You feel like a fucking stain. So I could talk about this for an hour. And I know I ran on for a while. It was so powerful. And for people like me that have been affected by it, and have affected those around me, my parents, and so many others, to see Mary's response to it was powerful, and to see Robert have the courage to get through this. I wish them nothing but the best, and just thank you to both of them for doing this, because I know it helped me, and I'm sure it helped a lot more people. Fuck.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I mean, we watched this whole season. We saw all the signs. We knew what it was pretty much as soon as it started, and rightfully so, based off of what we've seen from Bravo shows in the last couple of years. They haven't handled these types of things well at all. And you can point to producers, you can point to Bravo, you can point to the people, whether they're willing to share or, take responsibility in some cases. We were concerned pretty much this whole season, seeing where it was going, seeing what was going on with Robert Jr. And this was one of the most powerful things that you could see in any TV show, anything that we've watched. Like I said, scripted or reality TV, it's got to be by far the most jarring, eye-opening awareness of a type of situation that we've seen on any of these shows. And it takes everybody to tango in this case. Bravo stepping in, willingly being able to help Mary do this, going in, and because at the end of the day, look, you got to think about this. Robert Jr. had to get mic'd up for this. Mm-hmm. So this was a decision. This was a decision that he made. It's a decision that Mary made, the willingness to share it in the middle of all of this, all the things that are going on, all the stupid fights that we've seen. This was something that's on Mary's mind, and she knows going into it. She can see all the signs, and she's talking about it this entire episode. And we know what we're about to get into. And Andy said last week it's one of the most powerful things ever, and he even said that Robert Jr. is doing a lot better. He's doing great, which is awesome. He got the help that he needed. Hopefully he can stick to it and, see life more seasoned at the end of the day. And that's all we hope for him. But we can't say enough for what Mary and Robert Jr. were able to share with the whole audience, with everybody. because whether you've been through this or seen somebody do it, it's going to resonate all along the way. So that's all we want. It's all we wanted. It's all they wanted. And it got through, hopefully, to a lot of people.
We're both
That's the
crying,
most-
so clearly it did.
And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. If you can take it, learn from it, understand maybe someone else's situation, that's all you can get from it. So kudos to everybody there. Thank you to Mary and Robert Jr. for sharing that, because Jesus fucking Christ.
It was powerful, man.
Yeah.
It was really, fuck me. It was really incredible. It really was. And I don't think people know or ever will fully grasp, unless you've been through it, how much strength it takes to do what they did on a platform that large, especially because even people that don't watch Bravo have seen this clip now and it's been shared across platforms. So I'm sure that it has helped at the very least thousands of people, which is fucking amazing. So, oh, God damn it. I knew that was going to happen. But let's get to some questions.
I have a feeling I know what all of these questions are going to be about. Let's try to find some that don't have to do with that.
Oh, you could do some.
We'll do a little bit of the, yeah, we'll try to balance it out. From Honda, accordingly, do you think...
This is a sad question after that name.
No. Do you think Bronwyn is a bit of a shit stirrer? She's entertaining, but not innocent to me.
Yeah, she's a great shit stirrer. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's playing the game well. She's smart. Like, she's very pointed in what she says. It's not a mistake.
Great point here from Nate Baum. If you didn't cry during Mary and Robert Jr. scene, you is a lie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well said.
From Drew Blackwell Photo. Do you think the women plus viewers give Heather less grace because she's... No, I'm not fucking reading that. Jesus, I didn't read that all the way through. Because she's thin now.
That was the dude with his boyfriend on our live Zoom.
Oh, God. I'll ask his other question. From Drew Blackwell Photo. How would Heather have to act in order for Bronwyn to like her?
I don't feel like that's the problem. I feel like Heather has a problem with Bronwyn. I think Bronwyn would be more agreeable if Heather was more agreeable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. From Gabe Solinger. Do you think they'll keep asking Meredith back? She never wants to fight and always leaves early.
Yeah, because she brings this weird shit to the show. I don't know what it is that Meredith brings, but it's something.
Yeah, it's something, and she's an OG. The show has to be really bad for them to start replacing OGs, unless they go to jail in this case. And she does enough, and a lot of people do like Meredith. So, yeah, they're going to keep asking her back unless she just doesn't really feel like doing it anymore.
She literally just gets by with, like, husbands. Like, she'll have one of those moments and be like, that's why she's here.
From Rishjavis. How many glasses of champagne do you think Meredith had while waiting for Mary?
No.
just leave the bottle.
Yeah, and her killer boots.
Yeah. And we'll do two more here. From Rockstar0521. Why do you think Angie turned on Bronwyn the way she did at the girls' camp?
That's a good question. I didn't see that happening. I think she was trying to use Bronwyn as an example, maybe, and went too far, or maybe Bronwyn pissed her off. Everyone was going after everybody. It was kind of confusing. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's because she just got back to a good place with Lisa.
That could
She's
be
like,
it.
don't fuck this up.
Yeah, maybe.
And then, obviously, it changes anyway, so we'll see. And then the last one here from Beck_Gibbo. How amazing is it to see Mary's convo and Angie's with her dad and the way they've handled it? Salt Lake City's producers have done, they are one of the better ones, the better groups, and they've done a great job handling very uneasy conversations. So,
especially considering some of the other treatment we've seen when it comes to substance abuse, they handled it, both cases, incredibly well. And like I said, the scenes that we got earlier in the season showing what Robert Jr. was going through, and we had talked about that with Ryan Bailey, where I was concerned that we weren't going to get this moment, and it was just going to be like, ooh, why are we showing him like this? So the way they did it, it worked, and I
Yeah.
think it helped a lot of people. I know it helped me. So yeah, again, just thank you to them and the producers and anybody involved with getting this word out. Was you deserve a huge pat on the back because it was pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna go cry some more.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we got to record Potomac now, so we'll giggle a little bit and talk some shit about Mia. But yeah, powerful episode. Didn't see it coming from Bravo. Every once in a while, they surprise you, man. They throw a banger in there. You're like, whoa, this one really resonated. So, kudos to Bravo and the Salt Lake crew and to Mary and Robert Jr. And yeah, you got anything else?
Nope.
Yep. Bon voyage. Get it?
Nice.
You going to Europe?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Our bros are out of here. Bros and shows. Hey.